What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Agnetha, and we're returning to her 1985 album Eyes of a Woman. Thank you again to Scott for providing the physical release. And the next track in the playlist is The Angels Cry. So it's a poetic type of phrase. It's a phrase speaking to larger than life or indeed supernatural entities. Of course, angels can be humans, and they are referenced as such either because of their beauty, maybe because of their pure morality or behavior, perhaps some combination thereof. But yes, when angels cry, it would suggest that there is something especially tragic or upsetting, because seemingly if you are an angel, and whether you're talking on a more metaphysical level or a more, let's say, metaphorical level, it would suggest that there must be some truly significant problem, because otherwise people who have that angelic quality might be able to endure or keep manifesting their radiance or their holiness. But if they're crying, then something must be especially problematic or upsetting. So I do wonder why the angels are crying, but let's see if I can figure out on a first listen. This is by Agnetha Faltskog, the track The Angels Cry from her 1985 album Eyes of a Woman. That sweeping electric pad melody.
I always knew we were meant to be lovers. I always knew we were made for each other. I always knew there was no one else could make
I do like how we hear, I think, over the course of the track, both electric and acoustic guitar. But it's interesting, it was sort of like one of those emotional ballad pop songs, but with some 80s synth work that I think was really compelling. Both that sweeping but also electronic pad melody that I commented on at the beginning, but also that bendy transitional synth layer between, I think, the chorus and the next verse that was also very compelling. But yeah, also mixed with some like throwback doo-wop vibes, because I didn't even realize at first that it was just part of like the overall melodic palette. And then I noticed that there were backing singers, I think, saying my love, which can refer to both her love but also a title or a designation of the other person, my love. So yes, and I feel like not only does that have a sort of two-sided way that you can appreciate or interpret the musical component or the vocal component, but I think even the idea of every time you say goodbye, like, I feel like maybe you can take it as a relationship that has these fits and starts and stops. Like, they come back together, but then he feels like he's not satisfied and he wants to leave, so he goes away, he breaks it off, or he at least says, I need to get away from this for a while, I need a break. And she feels heartbroken every time that happens when the angels cry. But I feel like you could also maybe take it in a less dire sense, the idea that either he works in a way that means he's away from home a lot, or maybe he just is always busy and doing other things such that they can't be together physically, both in a sheer proximity, but also like intimately as often as she would wish. And so every time he has to go somewhere, whether for work or otherwise, it's the angels cry. It makes her very, very sad. Now, I'm inclined more to think the former, more that like this is a relationship that he either keeps departing from or has departed from more than once, and so every time she gets her hopes up, she thinks we were made for each other, it was it's destiny, like of course we were going to be lovers, but then you left, and these teleological metaphysical plans that the universe had for us, they've fallen apart, and that makes the angels cry. You're going against what the angels and the universe want, and that makes me very sad. So yes, I'm more inclined to take it that way, but I think again, it's the kind of phrasing that allows you to see the song maybe from a couple different angles, and I think that's always clever writing, and in this case again, it's like lyrical writing and musical writing that allows you to see the song from maybe a couple different interpretations. And yeah, I think her voice sounds great. It's not the most powerful performance I've ever heard from Agnetha. It's not the most demanding, like vocally demanding performance, but a couple moments where she does go up high and she sort of, does those melodic or melismatic even flourishes at the end of a delivery or end of a line. But again, like, is there ever a time when her voice doesn't sound great? I don't think so. So yeah, I do like the 80s meets doo-wop or throwback stylings sonically. Again, there's some nice moments guitar-wise, both I think electric and acoustic. I think there's an organ in there too, and I like those, again, sort of doo-wop style backing vocals, which sort of subtly work their way in such that I didn't even notice them for what they were at first, and then it suddenly occurred to me, but that's not just like, a keyboard line or something. Those are actually vocals, I think. So yeah, I do like the composition of this one. The next time we come back to the album, it will be, what is it, Click Track? I'm not sure. I think it says Click Track. Give me one moment. I'm going to check on this. I suppose this is just something that happens as you get older, but smaller print these days is a challenge for my eyes. So let's get a quick look here. So the next tune on the album is, Click Track. So score 1 for my eyes. They're not as bad as I was fearing. And yeah, ultimately we're about halfway through the album, and as I mentioned, there's multiple more Agnetha albums. Another one that Scott gave me, Michaela gave me one a while back, and I believe, I'm trying to remember, I think Shafiq and maybe someone else. I do apologize, I get so much music from so many people. Sometimes in the moment I'm blanking. I think Adrian sent the Frida albums. So yeah, I'll look into it. But the bottom line is, both in terms of physical albums and in terms of albums that I have in digital form, I think we have a great deal more Agnetha to go. And I will do another Frida reaction in the same batch. I've been trying to do them in tandem. That's probably clear at this point. But yes, look forward to that. Do let me know what you think of this, and I will see you then. Peace.